Billy, 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 Billy. You're gonna kill yourself. Okay. He won't. I mean, maybe he will, but whatever. Blood. 4 friends and I created a weight loss challenge with a complicated system of points based on diet and exercise, weekly weigh-ins, and $50 on the line each week. On the first day of the challenge, I woke up early, worked out, ate a meager breakfast, and went to work, where I noticed a sign in the break room saying there was a blood drive happening that day. Now I would like to tell you that I signed up for the blood drive because I'm a good person. But did you know that every pint of blood has 650 calories in it? We were in the first 12 hours of our weight loss challenge, and I was still highly motivated to win. I had given blood half a dozen times before in my life, the standard 1 pint, and always felt fine. I was heavier now than I had ever been, and the blood center employee notified me that I now qualified to give a double red blood cell donation because you weigh more than 150 pounds. What a bitch. Houston blood banks are running really low after days of heavy flooding, she told me. You're the universal donor, so your blood is the most sought after. You'll actually feel better after this special donation because we'll be giving you fluids and you'll be extra hydrated. Science. A few things about this procedure that I would learn in the coming hours and days. The average adult blood body, no, that's not what that says. The average adult body has about 10 to 11 pints of blood in it. Once hooked up to the machine, they removed 2 pints of blood, spun the red blood cells out to keep for themselves, mixed the remaining byproduct with saline, and put it back into my body. And then they did it again. Hence the double red blood cell donation. So when all was said and done, they had removed 4 pints of blood from my body. Just imagine 4 pint glasses full of blood, removed from my body, and then they removed the red blood cells, which carry things like iron and then carry oxygen to, the major organs of your body. It's just basic functions. Remove them and then replace them with a saline solution and shoved it back into me. Yeah, Jesus Christ. Yes. They removed the needle from my arm. I held my arm over my head and counted to 60, and they told me, "You're good to go." I didn't get up from the chair immediately. "You're good," they repeated. "You can go." Turns out these vampires were rushing me out because they had a line of people waiting to use the chair I was in. I took my pack of cookies, and I walked up a flight of stairs back to my office. As I walked down the hallway, I started feeling hot and faint and saw black spots. I sat down in my desk chair, exhausted. The black spots were taking over more of my vision, and I was finding it hard to catch my breath. I knew I needed help. I picked up the phone and tried to dial the 4-digit extension of my secretary, a number that I knew by heart, but now my fingers clumsily bashed the keys, and I couldn't really remember it. My office is in a corner, and you can't see my desk from the hallway. I knew if I passed out in there was a good chance no one would find me for a while. So I stood up and ambitiously decided to walk to the office next door and tell them I had just given blood and I didn't feel well. I was in the middle of the hallway, staggering forward and back like a drunk, when my body went stiff and I fell like a tree straight backwards. The sound of my head hitting the ground could be heard by half the floor. I am told it sounded like someone, or a few someones, had dropped armfuls of encyclopedias onto cement. Immediately, people came running from their offices to find me unconscious on the floor. Panic ensued. To me, however, it really felt like a peaceful, deep sleep. The kind of sleep where you drool all over the pillow, The kind of sleep where you're in the middle of a good dream and you hear the alarm clock ringing, or when you're younger, your mom calling, and you will yourself not to wake up. I could hear someone saying my name over and over again, but I was actively ignoring it. When I came to, a minute later, there were 7 or 8 people standing over me, and 911 had already been called. The first order of business was to dispel the rumor that had started in the 60 seconds of my unconsciousness. The rumor that I was having a seizure. I mean, I get it. My body was seizing uncontrollably from a dangerously low blood sugar. My eyes were rolling back in my head, and my long-sleeve dress was hiding the bandage from the blood drive. The managing partner of the firm, the boss of all bosses, was one of the people standing over me as we waited for paramedics. "What happened?" he asked. "Bob, I gave too much blood," I said, pulling my sleeve and revealing the bandage. "Should have kept some for myself." I practiced to try not to laugh when I read that line, but that's funny. I was trying to keep it lighthearted. I had been at this job less than a year, and I didn't want to be noticed at all, especially for being sprawled on the hallway carpet with my head cracked open on the floor. When I collapsed, I fell out of my shoes like a cartoon character, leaving them side by side, standing neatly in the hallway, a few feet away. My knee-length flowy dress had billowed up over my upper thighs, exposing me and my thong to the crowd of coworkers, bosses, secretaries, and summer interns. One intern, an entitled high school kid whose dad was a client, stood over me, staring down at me in shock. "Are these your glasses?" he asked in a monotone voice that all 17-year-old boys have. I looked up and nodded. "Whoa, these are like 10 feet behind you." 2 ambulances from 2 separate fire stations came to my aid. In the fire world, that's a 2-alarm fire. The first set of paramedics checked me out, fed me a tube of lemon-flavored glucose paste, and concluded that 1, my neck was not broken, and 2, my brain was not bleeding. All great news. The paramedics from the second fire station arrived with an EKG machine to check my heart. They helped me sit up, and the room started spinning, and I thought I was going to throw up. The more concerning sensation, however, was the feeling that my bra was no longer on. There was still a large crowd gathered around, watching me eat glucose paste. So I motioned for my secretary to come closer, and I whispered, "Did someone remove my bra while I was unconscious?" This was her cue to clear the hallway and send everyone back to their offices. "No," she assured me, "no one touched your breasts while you were passed out." Also great news. Turns out the sheer force of my fall was just too much for my bra. It was not simply unhooked. The fabric and underwire had ripped down the middle of my chest, and it hung uselessly underneath the V-neck of my dress, and I was coming dangerously close to a nip slip in front of a bunch of old men at work. Then the paramedic holding the EKG machine, Chris, the only attractive firefighter of the 8 who came to my aid, announced that I needed to remove my shirt so he could perform the EKG. Someone wisely advised that we not do this in the middle of the hallway, but I still couldn't stand up without vomiting, so he put his arms underneath my armpits and dragged me backwards across the carpet into my office. Real dignified-like. He said I could keep my bra on and that he just needed to put the sensors on my chest, back, and stomach. Well, this must be your lucky day, I told him, as I removed my dress and made a futile attempt to repair my bra with a binder clip. He laughed uncomfortably. So I sat there, barefoot, bare-breasted on the floor of my office, the office I coveted for 3 long years of law school, cupping my boobs in my hands and trying to suck it in while a cute firefighter put stickers on my boobs and tried not to smirk. Thankfully, the paramedics ruled out any life-threatening conditions requiring immediate attention, so I didn't have to ride to the ER in an ambulance. A few hours later, because my pain, nausea, and confusion were getting worse, I called a paramedic friend of mine to ask his opinion on whether I should go to the ER to get a CT scan. I told him what had happened, and he laughed. Oh my God, that was you? The guys have been talking about that in the station house all day. As luck would have it, my firefighter, Chris, had been friends with my friend in paramedic school. Chris ended up asking our mutual friend for my number, saying he felt like he should probably take me to dinner since he had already seen the goods. Yeah. What a dick. If you were disappointed just now that this story seemed to be turning into some romantic comedy, don't worry. That jerk never called. I lost every single week of the weight loss challenge. And now, every time there's a blood drive at work, I'm inundated with emails and phone calls from coworkers hilariously asking me if I'm going to donate blood. Yeah, no good deed goes unpunished. That was a great story. Give it up for her.